Welcome back to Agile Amplified. Today, we are going to be diving into the fascinating realms of product and project management. It's always a pleasure to talk about these roles when it comes to product development as an industry. People often tend to get confused between what both of these roles do and do they intersect between. And we want to make sure that we communicate clearly to our listeners what each of these roles do, and who better to talk about all these things than Nivita, who's joined us from New Delhi, India, who is also a program manager at UiPath. She has got wide range of experience functioning as a project manager in the past, and she's got some product management background as well. Now, she is also a LinkedIn content creator and she is a PM coach. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome Nivita to Agile Amplified. Nivita, welcome onto the show.
Thank you, Vijay. Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure to talk to you about product and project management. This is a topic that a lot of listeners have been asking for in the past as well, to know the clear cut differences between each of these. And as a student, let's say, if I want to choose a career path amongst both of these, how do I go about doing that? What are the skill sets that are required to ensure that I become the best in whichever area that I choose? So these are topics that I think would be the agenda for the day. Firstly, as a program manager who focuses more on the project side of things, how does your day look?
Just like any other program manager, my day looks like mostly focusing on people side. You are in whichever role you need to manage people. Be it a program manager, product manager, name it, you are working with the people, and you are taking care of people so that they can take care of your business, right? So you need to manage people, understand them, be empathetic, and of course, when it's come to work, following up on with them, what's going on, what's not going well, how we can support each other, wearing that risk management hat, that proactively at identifying risk, what's going wrong, and what can go wrong, actually proactively identifying those and ensuring things are on track as per the plan, and if not on track, what should we do, and ensuring everything is aligned with the goals of my project, product, whatever I am managing, and they are linked with the bigger picture of organization.
So this is more on the strategy front. So you've got the strategy now, and you're looking into it from an execution standpoint. You're measuring, the quality of the deliverables. At the same time, you're having a track on the risks and highlighting them at the earliest so that preventive actions can be taken based on that. So I think these are all the skill sets that a project manager should also possess, right? So I'm going to have to digress towards project management now. When we talk about project management, let's say as a life cycle of product development, where does the project management part fit in?
Okay, so let's first try take a step back and understand around product management life cycles. How does it start? It starts with the idea to the retirement. When I have to talk about product management in simpler term, I have an idea. I am doing research. I am doing market analysis. Now, when I have finalized thing, I am on to design part. I am developing it. I am deploying it, and after that, it's about operations and depending upon the type of the product, there is end of life planning as well. So this is around product management. It's about v- envisioning your product entire journey from idea to the retirement. Now, when I talk about project management, it's more around the execution part. I have the product, I need to develop it. Now, let's execute it, let's do the execution part. It's around development and deploying part majorly, right? And when you do that development, you have those in simpler terms, I would make it around those phases, right? Initiation, planning, monitoring and controlling, execution, and closing. They just don't end like this. They go hand in hand as per the need in parallel also. But that's where the project management fits in, the execution part.
Perfect. I think you summed it up very well, including the product management aspect of it as well. So, can we put it this way? Product management is really about the why and the how, while project management is more around who and the when.
Yes, absolutely. You made it in a nutshell. I loved it. So, product management, yes, it's about what to build and why. I am focusing on my vision, my user experience, ensuring it fits the market, right? And when it's come about project management, I am talking about how to build it, when to build it, right? I'm talking about execution, I'm talking about budget, I'm talking about resources, timeline. Yes.
Wow. Knowing all these details that you're right now talking about, I'm pretty sure the skill sets that is expected out of both these roles are going to be different as well. So when we talk about product management, I think your focus area was more around, what my design is going to be, what are my competitors building, how quickly should I be building, how do I iteratively build it, what's going to be my MVP, all these stuffs. I, as a product manager, if I need to function, I should have a specific set of skill sets to be able to do all these. So, what are my skill sets going to be? Who should be looking at a product management opportunity? Let's say I have XYZ skill. Will that make me a better product manager or a project manager? How do I distinguish as a novice into this industry?
Yeah, that's a great point actually. We all need to really understand where am I, where I can fit in, or maybe where I can develop myself more to fit in better, right? And when it's come to product management, you rightly said it. It's about my competitor. It's about having that business acumen. It's very imperative you understand the industry as well. You just go in, do the research. What am I doing? What my products are, and what other people are doing, maybe tapping onto their marketing area, how they are building it, and how I can make those informed decisions. So it's more around understanding the market, my competitor, and having that business acumen as well. With that, it's very important to have strategic thinking. You are not just building a product for a day or two, you are building it for the long term. So you need to also understand my long term goals. With that, it's also imperative you are empathetic listener. You ask right questions, because in product management you deal with the users, right? You deal with customers. They tell you, hey, I want this, hey, I want this. But we all know what they actually want, they themselves are not sure. So we need to ask those right questions at right time. We need to understand the user needs and put ourselves in their shoes to understand what is actually required, and this is I'm gonna build, and cross verify that as well. So my business acumen, strategic thinking, understanding my user. You have to also understand the data, right? Analyzing that trends, market trends, what's all going on. That will help you make informed decision. I would focus on four when it comes to product management. Yeah.
No, absolutely spot on. I think one important point that I caught there was business acumen. Now, that's going to be very different for different industries per se. So, are you saying that we need to be an industry expert in order to become a product manager, or do we have to build that on the go? Like, I have the core skills to become a product manager, but I don't really know the business yet, but I can pick that business, let's say, over a period of time. Is this approach going to be helpful for a product manager who's just starting with a new industry?
I would say that would still be helpful. That's how we are all are born, right? We know nothing when we start our life, right? We just develop things, we get to understand, right? I started my journey as altogether in a different area. I started my journey around marketing and sales, and now here I'm into working here at UiPath as program manager. So I have seen different areas. So of course, when you start your life, when you start your professional journey, you will not know. And if you're just trying to be in the, wearing that product management hat, you will not know. So it's okay to take step back, understand it, learn it, and of course experience is the key. When I am in that hat, I will learn it more, I will understand it more, and once I do it, I'll be able to deliver it better at my next project or next task, whatever I'm handling.
That makes sense. We also talked about strategic thinking, and I think the word that you used was customer pain point, right? Customer pain point is something that is critical. Being empathetic with the customer is something that becomes the core skill set of a product manager. You need to be a good listener. Like you mentioned, you need to be a good listener. You need to talk to customers, and that's where you actually do your user interviews. You get their feedback, and then you find out the solution that you want to build. At the same time, you want to make sure that the solution is scalable as well. And you make decisions on how you go about building it, because most of the solution that you build is not something that you could build with one iteration. That needs to be iteratively built, and your customer must be ready to be accepting your iterative delivery model. So what becomes the highest of priority for him becomes your first MVP, and progressively it starts. You start building from there. I think these are skill sets that obviously a product manager would have to possess or start building once they enter into one such role. And you also touched upon this data part. How crucial is data for decision making as a product manager?
Data is very crucial. We all know it. Data is very, very important, no matter what we do, and not just for product manager, just for data helps you make informed decisions, right? So no matter what you do, you have different kind of analytics available, right? Predictive analytics, you have descriptive analytics, all these things, right? You can use all those to make informed decision. I understand at times data won't be available, but when data is available, let's ensure we are using it. And when I am using it for my project, my product, my task, I'm also ensuring to save that data for someone else because they are also going to use the data, right? So let's ensure we are supporting each other, saving my data for other person to also do that, using those data. So data is really the key, I would say. Do whatever, ensure you are looking at you're going back and see do we have data or not, and if yes, let's ensure you're analyzing that, understanding that, and building upon that data, and you don't have to just reinvent the wheel.
Most times when product managers talk to engineers, the point that they use for convincing the engineers to build something has been data. They want to actually have access to the data. They want to see, why am I building this particular feature for the customer? Okay, this like, or the product with 20% market share rather has XYZ features. And that would make sense for me to have that as part of my product. Or my competitor is pivoting towards that particular area, and I would be benefited following the same direction. The data is what makes you make those decisions. Anyways, so we've talked and covered enough about product management. Maybe we'll have to slightly pivot towards project management. We already established the fact that the project managers are more into execution phase. They focus on who and the when, right? Now, getting into the specifics of it. So we're talking about resource management here. We're talking about scope control. We're talking about measuring cost, time, all of these factors. We're talking about schedule management and risk management. These are the preliminary skill sets that obviously a project manager would possess. But then where do they start? If you ask me this question, my first answer and the only answer would be adding structure to your chaos.
That's a valuable addition, adding structure to the chaos, and that's what we all do day in and out, juggling between everything and trying to make the structure out of it. We do it, right? And I can feel it. So, yes, you are at a valuable point. And I would also like to highlight one more thing here that no matter which role you are into, be it a product manager, be it a project manager, or be it any role, right? Which we are not talking about here, the three most things coming into my mind right now is around leadership, management, and soft skills. These things you will really need whatever you are doing. You cannot be a leadership right now, a manager, doing management stuff right now. You really have to balance those depending upon the situation, right? And soft skills are paramount. You are in any role, you really need to have those good communication skills. We as even project managers, program managers, the data says 90% of time we are communicating. So those soft skills are really important. Now zooming into the project management part, which skill set which we were talking about. So project management, we understand it's about the execution. So let's try understand and honing our skills around understanding how to plan, how to execute, how to monitor projects effectively. Let's try to also understand those project management software available in the market. We need to be organized, adaptable, be a good problem solver as well, right? And as you rightly mentioned around resource management, budgeting, right? We need to really have good grasp of budget management as well, because we are dealing with resource. Depending upon the project, we might be dealing with the vendor as well. So it comes in about procurement as well, right? So it's important to have that budget mindset as well. And we all know scope creep happens. So
Yeah.
that monster comes in. We really need to understand why it's coming in and how it's going to impact and what I'm going to do to ensure it doesn't have a high impact, of course. So managing scope is the biggest part, I would say. And we always have unexpected delays. Nothing will, I would say most of the times things will not go as planned. So we need to have that mindset of something is going to fail. That mindset, that has also really helped me. If something is going to fail, what am I going to do? So having that mindset really helps you to anticipate those risks, being proactive and prepared rather than just reacting when problems inevitably arise.
I mean, I was just talking to my product manager on a scope creep discussion today. I was telling him, you know what, you can't keep changing your scope. And there's going to be impact on the estimates. I mean, these are hard conversations to have with any of the product managers per se, because they obviously want the best as the outcome, but it might be too late in the process to be able to include a change into a solution. As long as it is completely going for a waste, you do not want to include once 75% of dev completion is done. You don't want to really include a new scope and then extend all your timelines and communicate to vendors, or I mean your customers, based on the extended scope, because they're not probably going to be ready to wait. I think as a program manager, sometimes you also have to juggle between communicating with the customer, meeting timelines at the same time, making sure your product manager is not being over ambitious in the dev cycle. I think that is something that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. We obviously covered a lot on the project management side of things, but then I do have some follow-up questions. You talked about PM tools, right? When we, as a product manager, use a PM tool, we use them quite differently. Per se, a product manager would be using a PM tool to be able to create an epic, a feature on top of that, and then a user story. Then he's going to write the user story. He's going to define the acceptance criteria. Now, these are the things that would be part of, um, you know, his usage from a PM tool. Now we talk about project managers. Now he is going to be, or she is going to be, more focused on the estimates of the tasks. How do we break down a user story into multiple tasks that can be delivered, right? How does the workflow happen? What stage of the workflow are we in? Are we on track with the estimates? Is there any risk that I need to be highlighting? Should I be raising issues, or should I be talking to the QAs to identify bugs? How many bugs do I have to a specific user story mapped? And what is the quality of the output that I have delivered with my team? right? So these are the kind of measurement, or let's say um, metrics that they would be looking at, right from the velocity of the team to a flow diagram cumulatively of every individual on your team. Performance management, all of these things are something that the project manager would focus on, while it's very different for product managers. Considering your experience working with multiple tools, what would be your recommendation for any organization to adapt?
Okay, that's a very good question, and we always juggle between tools, right? What I'm gonna use tool, I know I have to do this, and which tool, how to do this, right? So I would say, let's try to understand what I am working on. What is the project or a product I am working on? What is the need? And then select the tool. And not just, there is no one size fit all, right? One of the tool might be good for this project and might not be good for that, depending upon the features and depending upon the requirements of the environment, and also depending upon the need of the organization. And at times you might not have those tools as well. So first thing is understand the need, and at times if you do not have the availability of the tool due to any reason, we need to be adaptable as well. We have a lot of tools in the market. We know you just mentioned Jira, we have Microsoft Project, we have, I've seen Asana, we have Trello, we have Smartsheet, we have whatnot. Name it, we
Yep.
have it. So right, so two things I'll say: understand the need and adapt.
I think the scope of the project is something that most times formulates the decision making, right? So if my product is a very complex product, or if I manage an entire program which now segments to multiple projects, I might use an MS project to track everything, including the costing factors of it, because that's a comprehensive tool to track those things. But if my work is more on the execution front, I'm building a product, I'd probably lean towards let's say Azure DevOps, or maybe around Jira, Asana. These are very execution specific tool, while MS project is more around everything project. Everything project. You talk about cost control of your schedule, everything you name it, you can do that there in MS project. But still, there's a lot of a learning curve when we talk about MS project as a tool. So that would be my segue to the next segment. What are the tools that I should be as a product manager looking at, and what are the tools that I should be as a project manager learning? Right. So my go-to tools before you give your answer would be I need to know a bit of Figma to do a bit of designing. Now we do have UI UX designers, but even at times the product managers themselves struggle to explain what they're trying to envision to the designers. I mean, forget engineers; they're not sure how to communicate that to the designers in the first place. Now, Figma, if you know Figma, or if you know any other UI UX, a UX tool, that really would make it easier for you to communicate to your own designers, and they'd obviously build on top of it, and they'd make it as better as possible, but then you'd get the skeleton out there, right? So Figma is one of the tools that would be my recommendation. And obviously the basic Microsoft Office, to be able to toggle between all the Microsoft Office tools, because most of their PRDs are written on, let's say, a documentation tool, or it's written on a Word file. From the basics of Word file to using a complex tool like Notion or Document 360, whatever it is, it's still these tools that they work with day in and day out as product managers. But when it comes to project managers, we talked about the tools that they would be working on. So there's going to be a learning curve for both of them. How would you define the learning curve? What I'm trying to ask here is, okay, what should I learn first? Which tool should I focus on first as a product manager?
Yeah, that's a good point. So around, you mentioned one of the great tool, Figma, and I would also add to that, rather than just starting with those, so many tools available in the market, we can also start with the simplest ones, and we can also leverage the AI tools we have available. AI is the buzzword these days, right? We have Midjourney, and we also have Canva. And for in product management, it's all about, we also talk about wireframing, prototype, mock-ups and different things, right? So I have personally used Lucid as well, and that's a really great tool, that really helps you to communicate better. This is what is needed and this is what is needed to build and to bridge that gap. Visuality, having that visual representation really helps. So Lucid can be one of the tool, and it's very easy. And there is one similar tool we can also think about is Visio. So we have various range of tools available. Let's start with a few of these.
Perfect. So you start small and then you build on it. So I think one very good tool that you mentioned out there was Canva. It's a very simple tool to use, and you still get the maximum amount of output out of it. One good example is me running Agile Amplified. A lot of designs that you see on the screen are built out of Canva. Not a designer professionally, but it still gets the job done for me. Yeah, so we start simple, but we focus on the core, and then we start building on top of it.
Right.
Perfect. That's a good suggestion, Nivita. Thank you so much for that. Now, I think this kind of brings us towards the end of the segment. We talked about project management in detail. We talked about product management. We talked about each of these roles, the skill sets that is required to perform at the highest level for each of these roles. But then, before we end, I'd like to understand from you, how does success look like for both of these roles?
And that's the lovely point. And I really love that. We really need to understand what is my success gonna look like, what are my success metrics, or what are my KPIs. So let's break it down. Maybe we can first talk about product management. What this success looks like for a product manager. So for a product manager, it would be around launching the successful products that meet my customer needs, building strong reputation and loyal customer base. At times, it's also around driving innovation and ensuring bringing differentiation in the market, right? Continuously improving and iterating products based on the feedback, market insights, based on the requirement, whatnot. Adding revenue. So, for a product manager, KPI would be around this revenue as well, right? Revenue growth rate, user engagement, making sure users stay engaged with the product, meaning they keep using it and find it valuable. For around customer satisfaction, we have NPS, right? We
Yeah,
also have
CSAT
metrics.
scores.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. We have around adoption rate, right? User engagement metrics, time spent on the product, frequency of use, right? Also, it's around, we were talking about revenue also, right? So it's about taking a slice of the pie, keeping an eye of the on the product's share of the market, right? Share, wallet share as well. So that would be around product management. Now, switching to project management. So for project management, it's around ensuring my projects are delivered on time budget. We all know it, but also ensuring they are meeting the project goals and are aligned with the bigger picture. That strategic alignment is important. At times, we all know projects are on time, on budget, but still fail to deliver that value, probably because they are not ensuring that link with the bigger goal, that strategy, right? So that's very important. And it's also important to maintain high team morale and motivation, when you're running the project, staying on schedule. You're making the most use of your resources, utilization. You are also ensuring quality check, right? Number of defects per deliverable. So I would focus on these few, right?
That's more than a few, though. So we've now spoken about product managers' metrics, KPIs, what success looks like for a product manager, very oriented towards the product. When it comes to project manager, very oriented towards execution, and this is exactly what we've been talking for the last half hour or so. Both of these roles have their own benefits, their merits, their demerits. But then both of these are very good career choices, very good career path for individuals who work on these specific skill sets, who want to develop their specific skill set, because both of them have very good growth rate in the market currently. There are a lot of product managers and project managers who provide top quality content across social media platforms. If at all you're stuck somewhere, you could go follow these guys, understand what they've been doing for their organization, and see how you can take that forward into your organization. Again, like Nivita mentioned, it's not one solution that fits all, but who knows without you trying, right? On that note, I'd like to gracefully end this conversation. This is a half an hour of absolute knowledge sharing episode. Thank you so much, Nivita, for taking your time off your busy schedule and being part of this particular podcast episode, and being part of Agile Amplified, talking to our listeners about how product management and project management functions in product development industry, and what are the merits and demerits of those, and what are the career path and alignment on career paths. Thank you so much, Nivita, once again.
Thank you so much, Vijay. It was truly an honor to be part of your podcast, Agile Amplified. I am lucky to be here, I would say. So thanks a lot for having me.